Good morning, everyone. To start off this week, the combine is still waiting on some parts, so we're going to go over to my dad's, grab a harrow, and get some of that done today. And we're over at my dad's place. He's actually got the combine started, getting ready to go cutting. He's got another combine actually up at the pivots there, getting that one ready to go too. It's got a lot of different stuff going on, but we're here to grab the harrow. We do have a flat tire on here we're gonna have to change, haul that back home. But man, my dad's got way more stuff than we have over at my uncle's place there. We got an old Big Bud here, all kinds of sprayer parts and old tractors and stuff, and then he's got even more up in the main yard there as well too. He's got all sorts of different things going on. He's actually got an elevator. You can kind of see it, the tip of it pointing out up there, kind of right up there. So yeah, he's got a little bit bigger operation over here. Talk about a handy little jack here. These air jacks are super nice. Just hold the button and up we go. Well, we got the harrow home. Needed a tire. Boss said to check in the shed. We got one, but I got it on here and turns out it has a leak. That's nice. So I'm gonna have to go to town anyways now to get a new tire after spending an hour looking for and putting an old tire on here. Tons of fun. We get the case all hooked up, ready to go now, but I do need a pickup down there. So what I do when the boss isn't here, because he's on vacation again, is I'll just take a dirt bike down, leave the pickup down there, and then I'll ride the dirt bike back home. That way I have a pickup out in the field just in case anything happens here. Another faster job in the old Case IH tractor here. What we're doing today is some harrowing. So we've got 70 feet of heavy harrow behind us that we're pulling, kind of zipping across the field about 8.5 miles an hour. And what we're doing is just kind of stirring up the ground. What we're doing it for is we're trying to get all the volunteer wheat to get covered up by the dirt so it'll sprout. That way we can spray it out and we don't have any volunteer wheat coming later. But sometimes we'll do it if we have a bunch of straw out in the field. We have a little bit of straw and you can see it's kind of evening out some of those little straw piles. We'll hop out and check them out too. But yeah, it's just a pretty easy job. You set it down and you kind of go, and pretty nice with 70 feet too, especially when you're cruising along. You get quite a bit done. But kind of bouncy over all the pivot tracks and stuff still, so always fun dealing with those. So right here you can kind of see a spot where we haven't harrowed yet and where we have right in front of us. You can see it just kind of helps spread the straw out a little bit more evenly. Makes things a little easier for when you're trying to plow it later. That way you don't plug up in a big straw pile like this. Just make things a little simpler, and it actually helps too. You can see we've got some cracks in the ground already just from the ground getting dry. It helps to fill in all those cracks, so hopefully we're not, sorry, there's a fly. Hopefully we're not losing a bunch of moisture then if we fill those cracks in as well too. So yeah, just a little bit different operation. Some guys feel you have to do it, others feel you don't have to. Just kind of depends on the operation there. Kind of another thing we're doing, you can actually kind of barely see it on the GPS screen there. We're actually skipping passes, so green, white, green. That's just because it's a little bit easier turning around with the 70-foot implement behind you. Not as tight of a turn then. And we're going to just come back that way anyways to get all those other passes. Heading back the other way, kind of filling in between those. You can see on that side the edge, and then this other side kind of the edge there too where we worked stuff, and then just right on the GPS there where we're just kind of filling right in the middle there. So here's a spot where the baler guy actually lost a bale, but let me show you guys kind of how it goes through the harrow here and just evens everything out. See there, it's kind of collecting it up in the harrow, and then it just kind of drags it all apart. Now there's just a little tiny bit left in the harrow. There, it's all gone now. But yeah, it just kind of helps smooth it all out, and that'll just make things a little easier when we're gonna plow this stuff under actually. Otherwise all that straw gets kind of bunched up in the plow too, so it helps with all kinds of different things, the harrowing. Over on the other pivot now, but the other thing I did want to say was we are watching out, making sure we're not sparking any rocks or anything, because we're going almost 9 miles an hour over this stuff with those tines just kind of barely scraping the ground. It doesn't take a whole lot to hit a little rock, cause a spark, and it's not like we're plowing or anything out here, so we're not really digging up the dirt too much. So yeah, we just have to kind of keep an eye out for it, because yeah, all that straw is extremely flammable. We do have a water truck out here. It's actually up over on that other pivot there, but not too far away. So. Another beautiful morning out here. But we got all of the winter wheat harrowed, so this part of the pivot and then on the other pivot. But today we're gonna get this triticale harrowed down, but the pivot is kind of in the way right now, so we're gonna fire this thing up, get that pivot out of the way, and then get harrowing again. Well, we got the pivot moving, so it's slowly making its way over this way, but we're gonna head over to the tractor, get that all greased up and started, ready to go. That way when this thing gets finished moving over here, we should be ready to start. So even at full speed, a half mile of pivot doesn't go very fast. It's a very slow walking pace, just about. These things have tons of torque, not a lot of high speed. Helps them crawl through all the mud and stuff when it's actually watering. But yeah, it just takes a little while if you're trying to move things. Been checking some other things on the combine here. We found some more stuff broken. So this thing was welded up at one time and it's all broken out. And we never welded it, so it must have came like that when we got it. And then this little arm is supposed to be an actual circle here, and then it goes in to that little kind of bolt or pin right there, but that thing snapped out too. So, and that's kind of a tensioner, keep the whole draper tight. I don't know how that thing broke either, so finding all kinds of broken stuff on this thing. Well, we ended up doing another little different job here. We're just cleaning out a couple bins while it's cool out this morning. Just sweeping them out again. Then we're gonna have to move our aeration tube over, get it plugged in down there, all taped up, tied down, and then it should be good to go. So, and we just got to finish sweeping all this other garbage out. We got some more broken stuff here, except this time it's actually a tool. So we're gonna kind of rebuild this little piece for the header. So I was gonna use the plasma torch to cut that stuff out. It's our plasma torch right here, but for some odd reason we're not getting any power. And I did check the power at the outlet already. It's a 220 volt system, but for some odd reason it's not doing anything. So the next thing's going to be to tear the cover apart on this so we can get that fixed, so we can get this guy fixed. Always fun when things break. So after taking this thing apart, there's actually a little tiny fuse in there, and that fuse was blown, so put a new one in there, tested it real quick, and it seemed to fix it. So hopefully we'll be able to get this finished up after I get a little lunch here now. All right, so we just got done kind of getting this thing back together now. We cut out our little piece with the plasma torch and we welded it on there, grinded it all down so it's all kind of nice and flat, flush, matches up pretty well. But yeah, you can see kind of right here is where we welded it on each side. Grinded it down pretty good, so I think it should hold, and our hole fits, so our little pin goes through there. Not a problem. So yeah, sometimes you just got to kind of break out the welder and grinder and fix things on your own. I don't know how much this little piece from John Deere would be. Probably not cheap knowing everything else they have. So in this morning's project is we've been grinding all this stuff down. We're going to try to use a little tractor here, kind of push this all back together, see if we can get it welded up. I'm going to try to get this kind of bar straightened out here too. You can see it's got a little tiny bit of a hump into it. So hopefully that'll fix that problem, and we'll get all the new parts, and then we'll get this thing all put back together again. So we're adding some farmer-made additions to the header as well too. So this is actually an idea my dad had, and he's been running it on his combines. But what we're taking is just some old draper, same thing as that, and we're going to zip tie it to the reels. That way it gives us a little bit more length, and it's a little more area just to kind of help slap the wheat in. We were having issues on the cutter bar here, and the wheat just couldn't make it from where it gets cut and then over this kind of flat plane that doesn't move to the draper itself. So when it's sitting here, then there's a chance that the kernels from the wheat just kind of get shook and then fall straight on the ground and don't go in the combine actually. So this will help just move it across here, get it to the draper itself. Yeah, hopefully it should work pretty well. My dad actually was using his for lentils. They just weren't quite feeding, so we'll see how it does. The other nice thing about using the draper is too, since it's just rubber and fiberglass, if it does get ripped off and go through the combine, it's not going to hurt anything. It's not like a piece of iron or something like that too, so it's pretty safe. That's my dad actually ran one through his combine, and he said you couldn't even hear it going through there, so shouldn't cause any issues if we do accidentally rip one off. Always a nice part of the road here. It's where the blacktop ends, and we're on to the gravel. So some of our parts came in, but not all of them, so we're not going to be cutting at the end of this week. We did actually get one of our irrigation pumps. That's kind of nice. So we'll be able to pump at full pressure again. We were waiting on that for like a month or something like that. But yeah, still not all the combine parts we need. We did get quite a few of them there, some of the boxes and stuff. But yeah, so hopefully next Monday or Tuesday, the rest of them are going to be in, and then we can get cutting again. But yeah, I guess I got a good reason to get a little 200-mile road trip in. So it's always nice having a little air conditioning for a couple hours. Another gorgeous Saturday morning here. But this morning's project is we're going to be getting this pump installed down on the south pivot. So we had to order this one, about $8,000 for one of these guys, but our last one lasted about 20 years, so they do pretty good. So it's not too bad having to invest in that every once in a while, because it is super nice having water. So it should be kind of a fun job. It's a heavy brute, so it's always fun getting that thing lined up in place. All right, our Saturday morning job just got finished up before lunch. We got that new pump in here, so it's just the booster pump. So it comes from the river. All the water comes down the pipe, hits the little booster pump, gives it a little more pressure to help it get up and then through the pivot there. But we were running it without it, so we were just running really low pressure, which just means we had to run the pivot a little slower. So nice to have this thing in here again. Like I said, a pretty spendy little brute, but it does a lot of work. Well, to end off the week, we're going on another 200-mile plus voyage to get more parts for the combine. So we might have all of them tonight, and we can start putting that back together again. But hopefully next week we'll have that thing all fixed up and cutting some wheat again. So both the boss and I made some parts runs. He got most of the parts. I just got that one little tiny piece. But you can see all the boxes we got lined up on the header here. What it is just the cutter bar here, all brand new, so we shouldn't have any more stuff breaking. This is the massive one I had to get. Always fun going 200 miles, get one little piece. But it is a piece we needed, so all around the state of Montana to get the whole thing. But we should be good now, and should be cutting next week.